Welcome, my name is Tashara and this is StarMade. It's been a long time, a bit longer than I initially intended for a break. But yeah, real life happens and I got some more pressure on work-related front. So I wasn't really in a building mood and it was a bit harder to get back into a building mood myself, unfortunately. So yeah, that's why it took a bit longer to get a new episode out. But I managed to work my way up again and I started building again. So the last time I made an episode, we worked on this ship over here. We completed this nice little freighter. Um, so this is a done project. I'm not going to update this until it's needed again. And I want to go back to my station build, because this is still a very large project with a lot of things that need to be done and a lot of space inside the station that is, of course, very empty. Um, I think the last thing we worked on when we worked on the station was one of the arm sections. So I believe we worked on this deck over here. This is basically where all the cargo is going to pass through to get to the different parts of the station for storage, etc. And we did some work on the floor below with some technical rooms. I still need to fix a couple of things by the looks of it. Yeah, this is mainly caused because of the mirror effect. So if you mirror the corner pieces, then they basically flip on their side. Yeah, we did some work on the hallways and of course the entrance to the hangar base over here. So that's all nicely connected. So a lot of this interior part is done. But what we really need to figure out is how to fill in this very big space over here. So this is mainly going to be a lot of roleplay interior, but also above and below a lot of systems that can be put in, because I do need to finalize those systems as well for the shields and the chambers I want for this station. But I think I'm going to concentrate on this side of the station first, so see how I can connect all these smaller hangar bays over here. Those are the hangar bays I created for the fighters. They need to be connected to the rest of the interior, and of course how to connect this sidearm interior. And I think I'll continue these rail lines for the cargo dock, so we can probably connect them to some sort of factory setup here in the middle. One of the things I wanted to figure out was this entrance over here, this docking area, because I intended it to be a docking area for worker bees. So yeah, almost every build I do, I tend to add worker bees for some reason. I just like them. So I tried to figure out a layout I liked for parking the worker bees. So the idea is to have one is in each of those panel sections and then of course on each side. So try to do some detailing in the wall over here. That made sense. And then I'll probably copy paste it along the wall over here. The only question is, how long should this go and exactly where should it go? Because I do have this rail over here for the cargo, and it is logical to have cargo access for these worker bees, so they can probably grab building materials for the ship that they're working on in the shipyard. But if I continue this line in a straight line over here, as I did, as you can see over here, there's not a lot of space for worker bees, so only 6 in total, 3 on each side, and then basically the cargo bay will be full. But there's not a lot of worker bees for a shipyard like this. Of course, we do have another bay on the other side, so it would make 12 worker bees in total. But I want more. I want a larger worker bee parking spot. So I have to probably divert the track over here to this side of the station and then go around the size of bay I want over here. So this is my next attempt. This is already a lot more detailed and a lot bigger than the first one, but there's not as many additional spots as I initially intended. So it's only 4 on each side now. So 4, as you can see, on this side, and then 4 on this side. So that makes 8 in total. And then with the number of cargo bays on the other side, it makes 16 for the bay capacity. But I think that will probably be enough, because then I will have space over here left over to do some sort of loading bay for cargo for these worker bees. So I have some additional workspace. So as you can see here, I already started to lay out a wall and track location for my cargo section. So it's probably going to end over here, then go all the way along this side of the station. So basically preventing going that way because of this wall. This is the end of the basically where I can build the interior. So this is probably the maximum space I can use for some sort of cargo transfer type room that I want for the worker bees. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the detailing. I did some truss work on the ceiling, some lights, etc., some other details, especially like these ventilation shaft things I added here. Gives a bit of depth, but in the wall sections. So it's coming to life. Quite like how this turned out. There's always one thing you have to do before you start detailing a room, is measuring things out. So this is one of the phases that I don't really like to do all that much, but it needs to be done. So I did some outlines for this additional room I want, with connections to these cargo lines over here. As you can see here, I built both the upper and the lower cargo lines over here. It's quite dark in here, but we'll work on that as well. And then this will be connected to this room that I have over here. So we'll have some sort of pick up and drop off sections that we can use for moving cargo from this section to the cargo bay over here for the worker bees to take out. And of course, in the middle over here, we have these doors, I've already seen in the previous sections, that will be access to the cargo bay for the worker bees themselves. Because I don't think I'm going to have access points in this area over here. Because yeah, basically these cargo tracks are blocking any access that this space will have, except for this big door through the worker bee cargo section. So once I decided on the side of the room, I basically put in the walls and the ceilings, and then I started working on maybe the main elements that basically give this room its function. So I decided to go for this this cargo elevator type design. So basically the cargo pallets will travel through this hallway, and then if they're needed here, then they go to this direction into this rail section, cargo elevator section, then go down, and then basically be stored in this section over here to be taken to wherever they need to go, or the other way around. Of course, they can basically travel from here either in this direction for the cargo section, or up to this level, and then go both directions as well. So this is basically the functionality of this room, but it's not really coming to life yet, because there's a lot of detail missing, and I'm a bit unsure yet how this loading and unloading is going to work for this section. So that's probably something I'm going to work on later, or just, yeah, basically keep it in the back of my mind. If I have an idea, then I can always get back to it. So as you can see here, this now fills up quite a large section of this level already. So basically the cargo for or the storage for the worker bees, and then this cargo section, and then this is the rail lines for the cargo crates themselves. So I do have a lot of space over here that I can connect to through this door. but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. Probably some sort of maintenance area for the worker bees, I think. And then this will probably be the entrance for the rest of the station to connect to the worker bee area. But how that's going to work, I don't know yet. The other side of the equation is these bays over here for the fighters. I need to connect them to the interior as well. In the beginning of the video you could see that there was a blank wall at the back of these bays, so there's nothing for an entrance there. So I made some effort to get an entrance connected to the rest of the interior. As you can see here, I did some detailing as well. So I use this technique to basically make a small building within the interior of this bay, and then use that as a way to add a door within the bay. You could of course just make a big door in the middle of the wall in the back over there, but that doesn't necessarily always work, because yeah, usually it looks best if you have it in the center, and that doesn't always work for the rest of the interior. So I decided to make a smaller door like this and then connect it to the rest of the interior. And it gives me a bit of space here as well for probably some sort of airlock section to connect to the rest of the interior over here. So that's the idea. Just place them in each of the bays, as you can see here, and this will give me a bit of wiggle room to determine where the door is going to be. And that nicely leads into my next section, because as you see here, the door position has immediately changed. This is because I started measuring out some areas within the space I had available between the fighter bay and the bay for the worker bees, because this large section with the yellow lines you see over here is going to be my factory floor. That's the plan, at least. So basically block this entire section over 3 levels, because this is my standard level height. So this is 3 floor levels for me. So it should be significantly large enough in height and in width to accompany some space for machines. So I started working on that, and then I noticed, okay, I need to connect to the bay over here. So I'm probably going to need some sort of airlock, and then some sort of walkway that you can walk over and then look into the factory area over here to see all the machines. That would be interesting. And then I noticed when I built it all the way here that it could line up with this entrance over here. So that's why I moved the door quite a bit in this this miniature building, so it would line up, and then basically measured out the space for the airlock I'm going to need. So as you can see here, the size of the factory room changed quite a bit, because I stopped it here in an initial little phase and then basically moved it over here. So that's why I'm trying to measure out the size of the room I have available. And then these yellow lines are basically sections of the factory that I want to dedicate to a certain type of factory, because we have 5 types of factory blocks within the game. So we've got the refinery, I think it's capsule factory or something like that. It's one of those factories I never use, because I think the only thing it makes is mesh and crystal or something, but I only have plenty of those if I ever play survival. And then of course you have the basic, the normal and the advanced factory. So those are those 3 sections. And then I decided to use this space I had left over in the middle here to make some division between the actual factories and then the refineries that are over here. So that's, I think, going to be in my next step, to see how I'm going to add the factory to this space, how it's going to look and how it's going to feel, because that's going to tell an important story, I think, for when a person visits this station, to see what this station is all offering. So the first thing I needed to do was add all the connection points for the transport lines for all the cargo. So basically we have per factory sections 2 connections, an input and output for the cargo itself. So that worked out quite nicely, and it goes all the way down here. And then at the end we'll probably have some sort of elevator so we can switch between the upper and lower tracks if needed. So cargo can basically go in one line as an input line, and then if it's not used, it go back to the output line to get back into storage. That's the idea, at least. So now the next question is, how are we going to connect this cargo line to the factory floor and then make use of the cargo that we can transport here? So this attempt was my first iteration of basically having some sort of big pipe that would pull cargo in and then basically drop it in this big grinder to grind it up and then basically make basic materials and have some sort of output to put it back in the other line. But yeah, this didn't look all that sophisticated to me. So yeah, I do fail with some of my build attempts. So don't be afraid to fail. Just throw it away and start again. So the next idea was to just have the same type of cargo elevator connection to the cargo lines that I had in the section over here as well. As you can see over here, I did some updating over here. So I've got cargo elevators on both sides now. And basically use the same system that some sort of pallet with cargo will be put out from one of these cargo lines and then goes down all the way to the ground floor, and then basically gets pulled out by a factory worker and used in some way within a factory. That's at least the idea behind it. So then I don't have to directly connect everything to a machine or something like that. Yeah, basically the way an actual factory works for a lot of things. Here you can see that I did some additional designing for the back panel of this section of the factory wall. So the basic idea is to get this all detailed out and then copy it over like I did with the worker bee section as well. So now you can see the difference between what I did over here and then this clunky attempt, my first attempt over here on the left. So I like this a lot more. So yeah, the cargo elevator and then some technical things over here that basically let you operate the cargo elevator. And then we have some spots to park the cargo crates in and then use them in the factory setup. So I'm going to finish this up, copy it over to the side over here so that I have the two factory lanes or whatever I want to call them done over here, and then I can work on some more detailing, because this is really getting me back in the building groove. These little details and making things look like they work in some sort of fashion. So I copied the back wall section over to the left, so I removed all my old attempts, and I started working on some proper looking factory machines. So yeah, my search history in Google is now very weird because I'm looking up rock grinders and all other additional stuff, and yeah, I'm probably on some weird list right now. Yeah, this is basically how a traditional rock grinder within an industrial factory would look like. Basically, rocks are dropped in this big hole over here, then crushed up, and then basically spit out at the back over here. My idea is to have some crates like this over here. This is what would be the output. Eventually, of course, what the factory would create. But over here we could have a crate with the raw resources that are basically going to be fed in this machine. And then they get put on this transport over here all the way to this big mixing vat, I call it. Basically the idea is to have this pulp mixed with some sort of liquid or water or whatever. It's going to be dissolved in some sort of slurry that's going to be used in some other machines. But once I was building this, I wasn't really happy with the precision, so I'm probably going to move this entire section that are built over here to basically over here in line with this crate, basically, because large machines like this are going to be accessible on both sides, and now it's against the wall, so it's not that accessible to maintain them. So it's more logical to have them in the middle and then have some other machines on the other side. So I need to change a couple of things and then basically swap the machines over. So, and that's what I did. I moved everything over to this side of the section I have available and added a whole bunch of other details. As you can see, I added also some decoration to the back wall over here. So what I did is I added some maintenance ladders, for example, over here, so you can get to the top of this tank. So now the process goes like this. You add the raw ingredients to the crusher over here, then it gets sent up to this mixing vat. Once it's some sort of slurry, it gets piped to this orange pipe over here, and then this pump sent to this section over here. These are what I imagine some sort of filtering systems. And then the slurry is basically sent up over here and then sorted by 3 colors, so red, green and blue. Then sent to this big industrial 3D printer, and this will print our resources for us. I think that's a very logical way to how we get our resources out of our raw ingredients. And then of course you can basically open this door to get them out and then load them into crates over here, stack them up and then send them on their way through the cargo elevator to the rest of the system. So yeah, that works out quite nicely in my opinion. So I need to do something like that for this factory setup as well, and then for all the other factory sections I have to find over here. But I think that's going to be for another time because I spent a lot of time on this episode already, I think. So I hope you enjoyed this return to building from me, and I'll see you next time. And of course, I didn't use mirror planes.